Ashland's waterfront has been lackluster to say the least, and it's been like this for as long as anyone can remember. It all comes back to Ashland's early founders, Edward Ravenrock and John Lithia. Edward was ambitious, relentless, and determined to industrialize the shoreline. John was cautious, community-minded, and stubborn about protecting green space. When one tried to accomplish something, the other would block it. Their feud split Ashland's politics in half. Eventually, Edward's vision of a cargo port came to life, but only because John secured his vision for a passenger ferry. So today, we're going to build out that passenger harbor. We'll add a tiny bit of industrial, a small hotel resort area, commercial, and maybe, just maybe, a new residential waterfront district. Let's jump in. Welcome back to Ashland, and I think we're going to build our passenger harbor right here. To me, it just makes the most sense. It's already pointing towards the water. We kind of have somewhat of a natural breakwater, although we're definitely going to have to extend it. And I feel like it'd look really, really nice here. Now let's just get started, and I'm going to grab our level terrain tool, and we're going to find somewhat of a common height. And I think 43 meters seems like it might be the common height to me. Yeah, down here it's 43 meters as well. I'm just going to flatten some of this out just to make sure we're not doing any crazy things. And now I want to send a road pretty much straight through, and we're going to use this road to actually help define where our building will be. We'll start placing our road right about here, and then I imagine we'll need to take this road and send it probably, I'm going to say, about 70 units, and we'll do it at a 130-degree angle. I'm going to convert the road back down to ground level. I'm going to grab right here. I'm just going to flatten this area out. We're already deviating away from the 44 meters or 43 meters or whatever it was, and I want to fix that. It looks like Move It isn't going to like us today. We're going to try and ignore it though. Oh wow, it has icons now. It actually looks really nice. So we're going to turn on our segments, and we're going to turn on our nodes. We're going to drag all the way out. I'm going to hold Shift, and I'm going to select these parts as well. And then I'm just going to Control H to right here. Now hopefully, if it's anything not like the university, it will properly terraform, and it seems like it did. There we go. Yeah, now we can just extend this all the way through. And I think there should be enough room to place our building, but let's double check and see. Oh yeah, we have tons of room. This is perfect. And I misclicked and placed it right there, but I think it works anyways. I think we're going to keep it there. So right now the seaway goes a bit too close to the shore for my liking. So we're just going to take our level terrain tool, and we're going to level it right about here. I just want to make sure they have plenty of room, and that's not going to be a problem. And we'll move that soil right there. Yeah, there we go. Now it's fairly deep here, and it should be deep enough for any boats to come in. Now I feel like I've blocked this area off pretty heavily, almost maybe too heavily, but I think it should be fine. So I'm going to grab our medium seaway, and I'm going to bring it close to there, and then I'm just going to curve into this seaway. And wow, what did I do over here? This is just sad. I don't even know what to say about this, so I'm not going to say anything. Instead, I'm just going to connect this roughly in there. I'll connect this one roughly into here. Yeah, it looks rough, but as long as it functions, I can deal with it. We'll grab our passenger ship line, and we're going to send this to Neath, to Royal Lakes, and then we'll send it back. And then maybe we'll send one. Why is there so many external connections for the ships? It just seems like something was broken, that's for sure. Because it's not really making any sense. We have Neath, we have Royal Lakes, we have Royal Lakes again, and we have Hewson? Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. Anyways, I'll have one that does the opposite path. So it'll go to Royal Lakes, then Neath, then back down into our harbor. And now I want to get this connected up before any ships arrive. So I'm going to get rid of this little piece right here and this piece. We're going to choose our 4-lane divided road for now. I might change it after, but for now it should work. And then I just want to curve into this one. I want to connect back up into this road. So first we're going to send this down, and I'm going to turn on constant slope. There's no reason why this shouldn't be flat. And then I have a feeling this might turn out a bit funky, but we're going to try it anyways. So we'll use our complex curve tool. We'll go up about 15 units. We'll turn on snap to guidelines. We'll try and find that little snapping point. And let's try this again. Instead of 15, we'll go up 20 units. Now we'll turn on snap to guidelines and we should be able to find it somewhere. There it is. And then we'll curve in. And then for this road, we're gonna send it straight for now, but we are going to terraform right through these mountains or blast through these mountains. So let's say roughly right there. Then we're just gonna curve into our other road. Now over here, I think we might as well apply our retaining wall. And that might just be a bit too much of a retaining wall. At least for this side, I think we want access to this side as much as possible. And we definitely don't need it here either, probably even here. I think for right here, we can keep it as a visual feature. And the way we'll do this is by finding a common height, let's say 49.1, and just pulling it all the way through. And then I'm gonna slope up to here. And my brush size is way too big. Let's try this sloping one more time. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. Yeah, there we go. I think that works. I think that definitely works. I think the only thing that's missing is just a bit more access for this road to get into here. So we're gonna take this height and pull it over. And we're gonna grab just the side of this road and just pull that mountain back mountain. This is a mountain. Yep, this is definitely a mountain. I don't know what I'm thinking. We're gonna pull this hill back just a tiny bit, kind of like that. And of course, I love misclicking. Misclicking seems to be my thing today. Okay, I'm gonna fill that back in. And I definitely think the tram should extend all the way down. I feel like it would be a big miss if we didn't. So I'm gonna upgrade our road to have our trams run through the middle. And can I just pull them all the way through? I could. Now we're gonna need to do some work here because our trams will definitely get stuck there. I'm wondering, does it make sense just to add a massive cul-de-sac right here? We could have it be something nice, like, I don't know, some trees and some bushes. Then can we add our, oh right, we can't add our tram tracks to here, can we? No, it doesn't seem like we could. I think that's a bit overkill anyways. I think what makes more sense is just to drop this back down. And instead we can create somewhat of a tram stop here. So we'll use a small pedestrian street and we're gonna latch on to right here and we're gonna send it up, let's say to wherever this point is. So we'll send it up 6 units. We'll flip the direction on that and then we'll send this back in. The only thing that would worry me is this would kind of be a conflict point. You have cars coming and there's a set of lights right here. We probably remove the lights, to be honest. I still think this needs to be pushed back just a bit further though. So I'm gonna do something like that instead. Then this gives a bit of space between the cars turning from the parking lot and the tram turning. Now I know these angles are gonna be too tight, so we're gonna need to fix them up just a bit. So I'm gonna pull back about 2 units on each side. Then we're gonna delete all of these corners. Now we're gonna try and do a curved pedestrian road into here, something like that. I think that should be perfect. And then let's just fix this road to not have the tram tracks anymore. We'll upgrade this passenger road to have them, and I think we'll only need them in one direction, and that would be this one. So we'll add them in. Then we'll add a tram stop right here. And what is going on with our road right here? Is it because this changes from a median? I think it is. Yeah, so we'll add our median all the way through. There we go, and that's looking pretty good. I'm wondering, can I add grass on the sides? Oh, I can't. That'd have been so cool. Can I add trees? Okay, it'll accept the trees, but I'm not really worried about the trees. The grass is more so what I wanted. Let's grab our stop, and it looks like that's gonna function. Now, ideally, this tram stop would take us to some type of tourist attraction. We don't really have one. So for now, I think I'm just gonna send it to the park. And it looks like our pathfinding has failed. I wonder why. Oh, I think it's just user error. I think it's because I'm trying to put it on the outside of the road, but it's supposed to go on the inside. Nope, definitely not. So there's a conflict somewhere over here. Yeah, it seems to be a conflict right here. I wonder what the problem is. I'm gonna try this again. I'll grab our tram line and I'm gonna send it there. And it seems to be working now. Yeah, it seems to be working now. I'm not sure what the problem was. All I did was use move it and just wiggle it back and forth, and then I clicked Control Z and it seemed to work, so I'll take it. Anyways, we're gonna send this around our park and we'll just do one stop right there. But I guess in front of the school is kind of a bit inappropriate. So we'll leave it stopped there for now, but we will fix that. But first I want to make sure this is actually going to accept it, and it will. Perfect. You love to see it. And then I think we'll place a stop right here, right in front of these buildings. I'm sorry, whoever lives here. And then I think we'll also place one right here. Instead of sending it into this one, I think we'll just send it right here instead, and that should be fine. And then I'm going to change the name of this to, so for now I'll call it Harbour to Plaza Line number 5, and I'll make it kind of like a gray color just to separate it from everything else. All right, now back to our passenger harbor. Let's see, we have 0 passengers waiting, and that's exactly what you want to see. I'm going to reduce the ticket price down to kind of increase demand. And we'll only have 1 vehicle assigned to it because I think 2 is probably a bit overkill. We'll make one line a nice little orange color. And then for the second line, we'll have maybe just a nice bright blue color, kind of like the sky. Now I want to grab our wide keyway with 4-lane road. And I'm just going to pull this down for now. Let's just say 10 units. I don't want this to be too big. And then again, we'll go all the way down to roughly right here. And it looks like some weird things are happening, and I'm not entirely sure why. Oh, our snap to shoreline is on. Yeah, once I turn that off, my units look good again. And I think I'll connect that right into here just to create extra conflict with the trams. I'll increase the brush strength to 100% and the brush size to about 70. Yeah, that should give me what I want. I'm just gonna fill all of this in. And this is okay, but let's get our key wall on and see how it looks. That's much better. Okay, now this 4-lane road continuing all the way down here is a bit crazy. It's definitely a bit much. So I think I'll change it to a medium key with 2-way road. In fact, all of this could probably be a medium key with 2-way road, because right now we do have our trams taking up our middle lane, and I think it just maybe would make a bit more sense to continue that pattern. Otherwise, right now you immediately have to get from this lane into this one to actually make this right. Or maybe we even use a 3-lane asymmetrical instead, and we have it be something just a bit more like this. I'm gonna turn off the key wall that I had on this road, and I'll place it in kind of like that, and then I'll drop this down to just a normal 2-lane. And really the goal of this is to provide a turning lane to get into the parking lot or into the harbor, and I think we'd want to stop it right here. So I'll break the node right there. I'll upgrade this back down into a 2-way road. I'll delete this, and of course it's on the wrong side, and with the smallest nudge over, I think it can work. My new concern is if you're a car and you're coming down this road, you have to make a considerably interesting turn, and I feel like this would just confuse pretty much every basic driver out there. I think I'm just going to leave it how it is for now, and I'm going to remove these lights, and I'll remove the lights from this section as well. Now I'm going to pull this side of the terrain out just a bit more, try and match the sides, and now that I'm looking at this, I feel like we could turn it into something nice. If we grab one of our narrow keys, we can try and snap onto the side right here. I don't know how much it'll like it. Yeah, it doesn't seem to like it a lot. So I'll try snapping onto right here. I'll pull this out, and then I'll pull this over, and then pull it back in. Yeah, it just has to create something rough, doesn't it? I think that's a great candidate for some rocks, definitely for some rocks. And then we need to upgrade this part right here so that it's not a key wall. Otherwise we get some funky stuff happening. And again, another great candidate for some rocks. I think we're ready to add in a mix of parking and a mix of warehousing space or industrial. I don't actually know if warehouses will spawn. I have a feeling that they probably wouldn't. Either way, we're going to try and get something in here. And it seems like this actually will take a company, which is great. And I probably could have just used Infoloom for that. I'm still not really used to using Infoloom all that much. Yeah, and it seems like my worries have come true because now they're not spawning into these buildings right here, and I want there to actually be companies in here. So instead, I think I'm just gonna go and grab anything that's not a warehouse and place it down instead. I don't really want anything too big or too fancy. I want this to feel kind of old, almost abandoned, but not fully abandoned. Now on this side, I think I'm just going to fence this off So we'll grab whatever fence kind of matches an industrial area, and maybe this right here. Now I want a bit more pavement in here, so I'm just gonna grab this one for now. There we go, that already is just such a better change. And I wanna get rid of a lot of these separations between these buildings. So this fence right here, and I guess this fence as well. And now I just wanna replace all of these with the concrete that we've been using so far, and then just finally extend these all out. Okay, there we go, and that's not looking too bad. I think I'd want to see some parking back here for either the people who work here, or maybe this is parking rented out to these guys who didn't get a nice spot here or here. I'm gonna add that in right there. I'll grab our invisible car path, because I should just be able to pull this directly into the road, and I think I may have broken things instead. As long as I upgrade it to this one, it should function. Yeah, there we go. Now before I leave this area, I just want to add some extra decals in just to make it feel a bit more old, a bit more rough. Okay, and I'm pretty much done. So I just went through, added a bunch of these decals along the ground, kind of dirtied up the front of the buildings, the roofs, the sides, really kind of made these parking lots seem like they were used for something else other than parking for the majority of the time. Tried to dirty up the sides a bit if I could, and I think it turned out pretty well. And now that I'm looking at this, I'm realizing that the issue with these quay walls is due to the alleyway, and I don't think I can fix that unless I change it to a narrow quay with a pedestrian path, which I can't anyways. So that's a bit frustrating. Again, maybe a candidate for some rocks. Honestly, the more I think about this nice quay wall probably doesn't make all that much sense given the industrial buildings are right here. It would probably make more sense just to have a basic quay wall. Now that the industrial is done, I want to move on to a bit of commercial. And for the commercial, I want to create a clear separation between our old industrial, and maybe this is industrial that has been reworked. And this time I will use the quay wall road though, because I feel like that should, yes, okay, that fixes it. Yeah, so I'll leave a clear separation between our old industrial, and I think what I'll do is place some bushes down and we'll sink them into the ground, and we're gonna set them to be dead as well. And I know one of these makes a really good dead bush. I think it's this one right here. Yeah, I think that right there should pretty much do what I'm looking to do. I was wondering why I couldn't add commercial in, and that's because we don't own these tiles. And right now it says we're at $102,000 per hour. I feel like that's a lie. I'm gonna purchase all of these right here. And I definitely feel like that's a lie. And now I'm starting to see an issue in here, which is super easy to fix. We just need to convert this to be a one-way. And that fixes my issue with the road too. I wish I would have realized that before. Now I feel like it should make a decent amount of sense. Yeah, the cars kind of wiggle their way through. It's a bit of a small one, but once we remove the lights, yeah, it's still pretty small. I hope they don't hit the poles. Now I kind of have an issue with this one still, but I'm gonna live with it. I'm definitely gonna live with it. Now I think we'll just go with some low density business on this side. We'll also add some low density offices. And among this side, we'll have southwestern low density offices just to mix it up a bit. It almost feels just a bit too nice, but I think it's fine because we do have that contrast between the old and the new. It seems like we have just a bit too many businesses in here, so I'm gonna get rid of some of them. And I think what this really needs is some sort of split, something in between to make it look just a bit different. So I'm gonna grab a one-way and attach it right here. Then I'm gonna disable zoning from this road. And because I liked the vanilla offices a bit more, I'm gonna place them here. And I think it might feel a bit more factory-like. And that drives me crazy. If you're beside a bump, you ride the bump with it. It makes moving the camera so frustrating. And I actually really like this European commercial building. It feels like it belongs. It feels like this may have been some type of business that was a part of the fishery industry that doesn't exist yet. And I'm gonna add it in. And I don't know why, but I really like the look of these three here. It feels like it's part of the industry, but it's not. It's the industry kind of freshened up and turned into some nice commercial. I'm gonna grab all three of these and kind of center them, pull them back just a tiny bit. I'm gonna turn this right here into a parking lot. And then I'm gonna say that these buildings just don't fit in, so they're gonna go away. Instead, I'm gonna look for some more European commercial assets, because if we can find some more like that, I'm gonna love this. And I think I'm gonna go with something like this. So we'll have these two office buildings pulled together to create somewhat of one building. Then we'll have these three buildings right here. I feel like they kind of almost could pass for either a basic convenience store or something that's nice on the waterfront. These are really versatile in my opinion, especially when you combine them together. I think it creates something really cool. Then we have this European low density business. Then we have a few of these small ones. And again, I feel like these work just to be like shops that are on the front of the street. Nice little bench there. And I feel like these could be selling almost anything. And by almost anything, I mean fish. Like I get to see these are things that I would see in my own personal life near areas like this. I like these assets a lot. I think they're really cool. I don't really have the most cohesive vision for how this is looking. I'm just trying to stitch it together as I go, and I still feel like it's coming out pretty nicely. I'll consider this area to be newer developed. Maybe it didn't extend this far, or maybe there was some just abandoned lots here, and we'll just create a nice little walking path through here for all these businesses and all these people. And you can just kind of tell that everything is slightly off center. I'm not going to worry about it, although it's driving me a bit crazy, but I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it go. Then I'll extend this surface all the way through. Now I just want some sort of fence to block these two areas off. That way, if you're a pedestrian walking down here, you're not going to get hit by a car. And I think I'll just go with this hideous industrial fence. I think it'll work. I think it'll do the trick. Okay, now we have this little pedestrian place over here, and I want to add just a park or two. I don't really want this to be anything insane or anything crazy, but I still want it to be nice. If you're coming into the city for tourism or whatever it may be, I want to make sure that you see at least something nice and not just this rough industrial right there. Honestly, this park cafe I feel like is kind of cliche, but I feel like it works. Yeah, I feel like that works. I definitely feel like that works. Now we'll grab our path, and we should just be able to extend that in. And that's a bit janky, but I'll take it. I try not to mess around with the passenger harbor too much. I find that when you get close to it and when you start doing things, it starts to behave a bit wonky like. And I need to add some rocks right here, right now, before this drives me crazy. Okay, and that's not perfect, but that's much better. I can live with that. And although I want to just have dead grass here, I think something else needs to go in here. I'm going to open our static ploppables building and just see if I can find anything in the industrial, something super basic, which would just fit in really well here. And being completely honest, I have no idea what this is, but it's gonna be something. I think that just looks a bit better, maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna ignore it. Now for our tram stop, we definitely gotta do something. It can't just stay like this. It looks like if we just zone 2 units, we definitely would have enough room. So I'm gonna zone 2 units right here, and I'm gonna use the European assets because I feel like they're gonna work. So we'll put our 2 units there, and then I'm just gonna let it go crazy in here and see what we get. I also think I'll let it go crazy here as well. And let's see. This one is definitely way too big, so we're gonna get rid of this one. I feel like we're wasting space. This is a nice building, I like it, but I feel like we're wasting space if we're using that one right there. And same thing kind of here. I think what really needs to happen is these need to be split up more like that first, and then I'll let these fill in, and then I'll let this side fill in, and that should give something a bit more ideal. And yeah, it's not perfect, but I definitely, it's definitely not perfect. There's 3 gas stations on this side. Okay, I'm gonna keep getting rid of these until I don't have gas stations. And yeah, I definitely think it came out a lot better than I thought it would. I moved them just a bit closer to the street. That way the sign would be on the street. And because of that, people are gonna be walking through the sign, but it's a trade-off I'm happy to make. And now I think the only thing that I wanna add left in this area is probably some type of hotel, but I'm definitely not plopping any hotels because I am terrified that it's going to kill our demand. So I'm just going to find some and then add them in myself. And actually, I think what I'll do is take a mix of this, and this, and create a nice little hotel kind of right up here. So first, I want to actually make sure the height is a bit higher, and then I'll slope up to here. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to slope up. But then I'm going to grab our hotel buildings. Ideally, we want them facing towards the water. So maybe we have one like that. No, let's get rid of these two. Let's grab this one, and we're going to set it right here. I think we'll set this one right here. And then what about one of these right in the middle? Yeah, I think this one right here is it. I think it's definitely going to be this one. And then let's just reduce some of this colorness. Now we'll grab an alleyway, and we'll split off from right about here. And we'll send this alleyway all the way down here. And then we're going to curve into it. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. Ooh, I don't want to buy another tile. We're already doing pretty bad money-wise. So I think I'll split off right here. But ideally, I'd like to split off here. Should I just buy the extra tile? I'm tempted to just buy it. What's it going to cost? Oh, 6,000 per month? Yeah, we're buying it. Good. Now I don't have to compromise on my decision. And then I'm going to key this off for now. And then I'll flatten this back area. So this would probably be your more upscale hotels or maybe even resorts. And then let's get something a bit more basic down here. And I think what we'll do is we'll have a few different roads kind of branching out. And maybe we start one right here. And this can be one plaza. And then we can have another one up here. And it'll kind of branch into this road. And I think that should do right there. And I'll start with this one. I want to find something that still feels nice, but isn't overly nice. And even this one right here, I think we could probably grab this one and place it right here. And then what I'll do is I'll grab a ploppable service block. I'm going to place it inside of here. I guess I'll have to go with a bit of a smaller one. I'll place it inside there. That way we can actually see some traffic. The pedestrian gate will be right here. We don't have a parking garage and we don't have parking spots because it doesn't make sense. But we do get a nice little building out of it and a nice little business. Which means we could probably do the same thing for these ones as well. In fact, we could make this a residential. If we really wanted to, we could make this residential. I think that's super cool. And I think we could probably use these ones right here and turn them into a hotel complex or a motel complex. I want to get them lined up though. So first I'm going to place them here. I'm going to change the time because it's just a little bit too bright. Yeah, I think that right there. And then maybe I'll pull these back just a bit, have it be aligned with our alleyway. I definitely think the road will need some reworking, but buildings first, road second. And then maybe we'll create a small little complex here as well. So we'll try and keep it away from the road. That way it's not too loud, but I also don't want it to be the same as this. Otherwise it'll get repetitive and boring. So maybe we do something like this. Okay, and this is where I'm at so far. So I decided to smash a few of these together, and then I remove that road because I'm thinking what I'll do is I'll just branch off from here instead, and I'll get this close to the buildings, and then maybe I'll just connect back into here. That way it's a bit more cut off, but we still have a few access points. My goal is for this would be a bit exclusive. Not everyone's going to be coming here, so we're not gonna have a million rooms. We're gonna make this really nice and have this really focused on being simple. Now, the only thing I could think of is we better not add industrial over here. Otherwise, it's going to ruin these views and these businesses will die. These ones would probably be fine, but these ones right here would not be able to sell their waterfront views. It's actually come together pretty nicely though. We're not even at the detailing stage yet, and I think I'm pretty excited about how it's turning out. I'm wondering if we have net lanes that'll look really nice with these buildings. So instead of just using basic surfaces, maybe we can get something kind of like this right here. And that's a bit too much. So because there's a slight elevation change here, net lanes are probably out of the picture, at least the way I was pointing them. We could do something kind of like this, just almost. And it seems like if I want to add in something other than these alleyways, then I'll definitely need to add in a surface, just because the elevation change and the size of the net lanes just don't seem to fit the alley the way I'd want them to. So to simplify things right now, I'm gonna go over this entire alley with the concrete dark and I'll adjust it afterwards. Okay, and that took way too long, but now we have it in, and I actually do like it a bit better than the alley road itself. But let's try and find something just a bit cleaner. Ooh, it spills over to the key road. Oh, that's rough. That's really rough. I could always hide it with some trees, but that also means whatever surface I use will be very, very, very apparent. So like a surface like this, you can really see it. It's kind of like in your face. Okay, new idea. If I just raise the terrain a bit, you don't really notice all that much compared to before, and it still works. Also, I kind of like this cracked cobblestone. It feels like something you could drive on and something that you could walk on. So I think I'll go with this for now. And now I'm going to actually add in the ploppable zoning blocks, and we'll go with just some low density. Ideally, we would get as much business here as possible, as many people walking through. If I use a high density commercial and I place one right here, what damage will that have? And then let's say I put the pedestrian gate maybe here, another one here, another one here. Oh, it doesn't have power. Yeah, see, it has to be connected to a road. Then the pedestrian gate will be here. And same thing for this one. We'll put it right at that front door. And we have a truck spawning from the door. It's kind of funny, but the game needs to use its mechanics, and we don't want to punish it for doing so, especially when we're allowed to create things that just wouldn't be able to in the vanilla game. And then same thing for these buildings. We'll just want to make sure we're connecting them in. Let's say high density residential, and we make the block 6 long. Does that give us what we need? Will this connect in? And it does connect in. That's really nice. Okay, I see why you use the long now. You use the long when you need to get connected in from a further away space. So if I place that like that, will that work? It seems to work. Do the same thing for this one. And then again, the same thing for this one, but this time we'll use a 1x2? No, 1x4. A 1x4 should work. Okay, and then we just need to place the pedestrian gates. So we'll place it right here, right at this front door. And then for our gate for this one, we actually want it to be at the front of the building. And then last but not least, for this one again, we want it to be at the front of the building. So right here. I'm imagining that we probably need to connect these in though. Otherwise, how else would they walk there? So let's grab an invisible pedestrian path, and I'm going to connect these two up. Let's put up a quick district around this area, because I'm interested to know how many people work here and how many people live here. Right now it's called Ivy Dale. If you have suggestions for the name, feel free to comment them below. But right now we have 130 residents. So we have 192 households. That's actually quite a lot. Maybe a bit more than I would have liked, but I'm going to let it slide. It seems like they're in a neutral happiness, which makes sense. There's no elementary school. There's no healthcare coverage. And unless I'm going to add a bunch of residential alongside here or even here, I don't think I want to add any healthcare coverage or elementary schools. And we might as well add a district for our harbor while we're at it. Right now, I'm just going to call it the Ashland Harbour. It has 438 employees. Not bad, not bad. That's kind of the goal for the industrial area, was to try and get a bunch of employees in here. And I'm glad to see that it's working. But if you have any suggestions for what this harbor should be, or for this little hotel area, comment them below. Okay, so now we need to add in the actual paths people will walk on, so the surfaces. And I think for these 3 buildings right here, we want to go with our most upscale surface. All right, I'm going to take a break from the surfaces, and I'm going to add a quay wall along here, because right now that's a pretty dangerous fall. I don't know. I feel like there would be some accidents happening, definitely some lawsuits. And I'm thinking maybe 2, maybe one along the shoreline to watch the boats, and one a bit higher, more for the resort. So I'm going to start right here. I'm going to turn on constant slope just for now. And I'm going to send this all the way across, kind of like that. Oh yeah, I remember why I don't use this quay wall. I say this every single time. It forces this type of terraforming. I'm going to keep my original idea of having this be a quay wall. And then underneath, that's when we'll do something a bit more fancy. So I'm going to keep sending this along. And then that seems fairly flat. There's nothing dramatic. That's a nice sloped downward angle. And then on this side right here, we're gonna continue it straight. Now there's one problem I have with this, and that if this is kind of like an upscale resort, connecting this into this area doesn't really make all that much sense. I would imagine it would be somewhat private. You wouldn't just be able to walk through the back. The only advantage I'd see to being able to walk back here is you'd be able to check in and bring your bags directly to. You don't even need a vehicle or anything like that. And I'm just gonna increase this height as well, because right now it's just dipped down a bit further than I'd like to see it. So we'll set it to this node. There we go. Now it's very, very even. Everything's sloped out really, really well. And then I'm gonna grab the level terrain tool. I'm just gonna pull this back. I'm gonna say right about here. And now I'm just gonna quickly change the time. There we go. That's such a nicer view to work from. Okay, then I'm gonna grab roughly here. I'm gonna see if I can make this work. I always say this and then I never make it work. But this time I do wanna try. And I wanna get really close to this, like uncomfortably close. And I think that's actually close enough. It looks like I accidentally added a key wall to it, so I'm gonna remove the key wall. And no, that's not gonna work. Yeah, so there'll have to be some room. I'm gonna snap back onto here, and I'm gonna curve along with this. And ideally we don't get that crosswalk, because the crosswalk is what I'm scared of. It does things that I'm not excited to see. And we could connect it like that. I don't think that's gonna work though. So maybe we just follow alongside here a bit longer. And now the only problem I have is how do I end this in a clean way without absolutely destroying this? And what is going on with the snapping? The snapping is crazy right now. There should be enough room from this where I'm not messing with it too much. And yeah, it might help if I snap to existing geometry. I don't know why I had that turned off. Of course it was fighting with me. It had nothing. It didn't know what it was going to snap to. Yeah, I think that works. It's a bit rough around the edges, but I do think it can work. Part of me was tempted to keep the land here, but I actually want to see what happens. How will it look if I remove it? Yeah, I think it actually looks just a bit nicer, at least as far as I can tell right now. This is how it starts to get difficult to do this. We can see that we're creating some issues here. I'm gonna try and just not worry about it for now though. Using Better Bulldozer will get rid of all of these sub-elements, and that'll also get rid of all the terraforming it does. Now I'm just gonna use Move It to try and get this to align really closely with the pedestrian path. And I think I'm just in somewhat of a rock and a hard place, and I won't be able to really perfect this. Even right here, we're not even really all that close to it, yet it's starting to do things to the terrain. And the only way to fix this is to get rid of these. Okay, so now they're all deleted. And now I just want to know, can I pull this close without seeing anything wonky happen? And no, it seems like it still does some form of terraforming, which is weird. Okay, and I've given up on the naive idea that I'll ever get these pier assets to work in the way that they aren't intended. They have a very specific intended use case, and I just try every single time to not use them that way. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't. I think they could be so cool if used a very specific way, and I want to use them that way, and I can't. Anyways, so what I did was I added just another pedestrian path alongside the bottom. I think it looks pretty nice. It's a bit janky in different places, but overall, I think with a bit of detailing, it can come out really nice. Now I do want to add these piers in because they're awesome and I haven't had a chance to add them in yet. So I think I'll probably add them in maybe alongside here. I'm not going to do anything too crazy though. I'm going to grab one of these points, and of course that wants to do a bit of terraforming, and I'm not happy about that. Can we just get close enough where it connects? Oh no, it doesn't connect like that. That's really interesting. So what I'll do is I'm going to snap to the zoning grid, and hopefully that'll give me a straight line as long as I click snap to 90-degree angles as well. And let's go out about maybe just about 10 units. And then we'll grab our wide wooden leisure pier, and we'll go over let's say 3 units, and over 3 units again on the other side. And it's not much, but yeah, it's honest work. And then we just need to connect this in. I'm gonna take a guess and say it wants to connect in with a normal path. I'm not really a big fan of how that looks. So now I'm gonna try and upgrade it. And it cuts the connection. That's crazy. I don't like how it cuts the connection. I think that's kind of lame. So I'm gonna buy these 3 tiles right here. All right, and the reason I wanted this tile was we're gonna add another kind of older industrial sector. I'm gonna only use alleyways for this one though, because I think the 2-lane road was overkill here. I guess maybe we could say that it was upgraded over time, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it was overkill. Using constant slope, I'm gonna send this alongside here. And looking at this just kind of looks laughable, like laughably bad. This has been way more challenging than it should have been. All I wanted to do was add a key wall to this, and instead everything from the terrain to the key wall to the way it kept lifting up and just kissing the edges to having little holes, or when you zoom out, there's these little things right here. It has been way more challenging. But then look, you zoom in, it's gone. So what is it? Why is it there? Maybe I'm just hyperfixating on small details, but it's just those small things that drive me crazy. Things that I wish I could just fix. And I'm pretty sure I can fix them as long as I use this road. So I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna add in this road, and if it fixes things, great. If it doesn't, I'm over it. Okay, and I think I'm just gonna turn this into a residential district instead. I think it'd look a bit cooler as a residential district, and it kind of makes sense. And I don't really know about these bridges. For now, I'm just gonna cut them off. Now, I know you're probably thinking, wow, I'm a master planner. You know, I planned this. It was supposed to be an industrial district. Then I went back, and then I struggled with keys. And yeah, I definitely am. I definitely am a master planner. Now I'm gonna take all of these roads and just align them all to the same height, and we'll set this node right here to be our main height. Okay, looking at Ivydale and looking at Ashland Harbour, it seems that they need some medical and some death care, and we're gonna give it to them. And I think we're gonna put it off somewhere around here. Given that this land would be a lot more valuable than this land, we will place our services on this land instead. And what is this? What is the slope on this? 3% is not bad. And I think we're just gonna buy this tile and this one. It's pretty expensive, but they're kind of in my working space. And now we'll take this and we'll go out, I'm gonna say 50 units. And then we're gonna curve into this using the complex curve tool. Nice and smooth, clean connection. And now if we put a retaining wall back on this, I think that looks pretty nice. And we don't have to worry about any of the space here because it'll be nice and flat. If we went one more unit back, we could get this right on the edge. We would definitely need a fence. No, I think we'll just go with one tile separation. I think that works. And then we're gonna take our alleyway and we're gonna send it all the way back down. We're gonna make sure we're sloping somewhat gentle. 7.5% is insane. I can't accept that. What if we did something a little bit more fancy? So we went down, we got negative 4.5 and then negative 1.7. That's okay. That makes me want to gentle this turn just a bit though. So I'll go up just an extra, I'll go up to 12 units here. Just gonna add a cul-de-sac there, and then I'll connect this in. And then I think we'll place our death care right here, and we'll also create a district for this as well. This right now is called Ravenwood End. If you have a better name for this, please put it in the comments. So we have the extension wing and the extra ambulances. We're bleeding money, so I'm not gonna worry about any upgrades for now. But I will set this to operate to the Harbour, Ivydale. It'll be our new district as well. And I think we'll also provide backup to Birch Heights. And we'll do the same thing with our medical clinic. Okay, now we need a rough layout for this residential district. And I think I'll break it apart using alleyways, and we'll have the properties face the water. So we'll do something like this, and then let's go, well, how long is this first? This is 72 units. So if we go 18 units, it should give us roughly 4 lots or 4 giant plots of land. Then there's our third and there's our fourth, and then we'll build a grid off from this. One grid down, one more to go. I think we'll just go with this layout for the second one, just because the more we use alleyways, the more it breaks the quay wall, and it's a bit unfortunate. So your only options are to not use alleyways and just use the 2-lane roads instead. But then you have to use a bunch more space. It has to look a very specific way. And then I think for our actual zoning itself, I'll go with a mix of waterfront housing, because I haven't used that yet. And it'll be nice to see some different assets. I think that's going to be it. I think we'll just go with the waterfront housing. Looks like we unlocked the real estate agent's mansion. And I think we'll add this signature building in just right here. And then we'll continue with our waterfront housing. And right now this is called Valley Brook. We have 1,111 residents. Pretty good. Not bad for this little area right here. And they want healthcare coverage. They have a high crime risk, and their walking distance to elementary school is not good. We can fix most of those. Let's assign death care here. Let's assign medical care here as well. We can definitely add police service here. We just need to be a little bit careful. Let's go something somewhat modest. Maybe a small police station. Maybe right here, right beside our medical clinic. Makes sense to me. And then we'll just assign it to these districts right here. And that's actually great because our harbor has some crime. Well, not anymore, criminal scum. I just realized this is called Ravenwood End. Why not call it Ravenrock End? It matches our lore. I don't think I'm going to go any more crazy on this. I don't want this to really be crazy. I mostly want it to be a very greeny space. Again, it's kind of exclusive. Now for detailing, we'll start at the end and move to the beginning. Right here, I'm going to do nothing. Maybe add some trees, that's about it. Same thing with here. There's not going to be much done. I'm going to place some trees all around. And for Ivydale, I want to have a nice green surface along here. I want to have nice paths that connect in. I want to make sure everything is nice and pretty, so the landscaping is extremely deliberate and it's nice and equally spaced. It kind of feels like something that you'd see, I don't know, I think it's very manicured is what I'm trying to get at. Over here, we'll keep mostly everything manicured for the most part. We won't do anything too crazy. Maybe some trees, maybe some fancier grass, and that's about it. So, oh yeah, rocks. I can't forget rocks. Do not let me forget rocks. I need to remember rocks. And I have a feeling that I'm going to forget rocks. Okay, I'm going to get started. Okay, and finally done. It's looking pretty good. Definitely pretty good. I'm really happy with how it turned out. Over here, I had to flip these. It was just so difficult trying to get a nice path into here. And then I just started doing some really awful things with the net lanes. And it was just awful. Everything about it was awful. So I just flipped them around, started from scratch. And yeah, it definitely looks so much nicer this way. Added some nice little gazebos over here. Sometimes you'll see me put a bunch of petals around the trees. I kind of really like it. It adds a little bit of texture. It doesn't really make sense given the colors, pink and red, but I don't know. I think it looks kind of nice. Wow. Yeah, there was a lot that I did. Kind of kept it simple over here. Added this kind of net lane over the pedestrian road. Not my favorite net lane, but it's the one that fits. So, well, kind of fit. Don't look at that. Don't look at that. Look away. Look away. Anyways, yeah, that net lane definitely fit. So that was the one I went with. And what is going on? Nothing too crazy. It seems like we got a lot of crime happening. We got a lot of stuff burning down. You detail for a couple hours and all of a sudden, boom, your city's burning down. And I wonder why there's crime here. Is there not a police station assigned to this district? There definitely is. It's the UK police station, and that is all the way over here. Let's see what we can give Hillside. I think we could give them a small police station, and we could probably just put that somewhere right here, and then just attach a simple road to it. Let's go with an alleyway, and then we'll just connect in. We'll also connect into this little dirt net lane right here. And I don't know where you guys are going because you operate in only this district and Lithia Gardens. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Maybe not in real life, they wouldn't operate here, but for the sake of the game, they're going to operate here. Okay, what else is going on? A few hearse icons, nothing crazy. Some crime over in our university. I didn't assign any services here. That's rough. That is definitely rough. And we have all these police cars too, so we might as well use them. And we also need our medical clinic. Okay, then that should help with that. Then we just need to assign our death care to our university as well. And our maintenance is 0. That's kind of insane. All 10 of our vehicles are dispatched. We could go for the extra garage, which I think we kind of have to. There we go. So now we've increased our capacity significantly. $157,000 per month. That's kind of crazy. I think it's time we increase some of our taxes because they've been pretty relaxed for a while. And I guess no, they haven't. They really haven't been. Our tax is pretty standard except for our well-educated and highly educated. So we'll bump both these up to 8%. And we're going to drop down our uneducated to 11%. And everything else we're going to keep the same. Now I'm hoping this makes a bigger impact on some of our parks here because I don't like to see 0%. At least these ones aren't too bad. Okay, now let's go over our university names. So at the time of me recording this, which is 10:20 p.m. on Sunday, the district is now called Lithia Square. The university is called University of Ashe County. And we're also going to extend this to our Modern Community College. We're going to rename our Geology Research Center into the Geologisan Research Institute. It's after one of our oldest community members, and sorry if I butchered your name. And then Middleveen has brought this up a few times, and I keep forgetting. We have a temple, or I see it more as a church, to be honest. This looks kind of more like a church to me. Definitely a fancy church, but still a church. And they've been mentioning for a few episodes, maybe even longer now, that we should add one of these in, and I completely agree. It wouldn't really make sense to not have any churches throughout here, and I'm thinking maybe we could have one right here, and we could center it along this road. So we'll add one in there. And could we fit one into our campus? Wait, if I recall correctly, because this is an extension, it doesn't actually need to be on a road. Let's see if that's right. It seems to be right. And let's connect that in. There we go. Now our campus has its very own church. And the Jenningo, again, sorry if I butchered your name, said we should add some service blocks. That way we can see more people utilize this. I completely agree. I tried to add residential before, but it just complained that it was too loud. But commercial blocks shouldn't complain that way. And honestly, I'm going to throw in some high density just because I can. And I imagine that's already going to increase our employees, yeah, significantly. It was just kind of crazy the amount of employees the university had before. honestly doesn't really make sense. Okay, now we have 148 residents and 230 employees. Still not great, but not as bad. I think that should definitely bring a bit more activity into here as well, which is really what I'd love to see. If that doesn't do the trick, then I'll go crazy and place a bunch. If I don't have to, then I won't. I'm pretty pleased, again, with how this area turned out. Let's jump into a quick before and after. All right, and that is a wrap. Looking back, I think I clearly need to improve my seaways. Should they be straighter? Should they be curvier? I'm honestly not really sure. But right now, it kind of looks like the cargo ships are doing some fast and furious drifting around the water. I also didn't show this, but I did add a few mailboxes around the Waterfront residential district. Either way, really happy with how this turned out, and I hope you enjoyed too. As always, big shout out to our Patreon members, Gary Key, Ganger, and Griffin. If you want to see Ashland for yourself, or you just want to enable my questionable design choices, head over to Patreon. If you haven't already, a like, comment, and subscription really go a long way. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one.